Hey guys, welcome back to the shop today. We're still working on our steering column for our 79 Buick Regal, trying to make it a little lighter. So I'll kind of show you, go through what I'm doing here. I got some materials here that I'm going to try using. We have our shaft. We have our we're going to use a Heim joint for the main point of the underneath the dash. I have a bearing for on the firewall. And then we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do from the firewall to the steering box. So I will show you what I got going on, kind of where I'm starting. It'll be pretty simple. I'm going to try reusing stuff that I can just to make it a little easier on me here. But let me turn the camera around and I'll let you show you what's going on here. Okay guys, this is the steering column that we pulled out. And here's what I'm starting with. This is what I got going on so far. This is the cradle that was holding up underneath the dash, the steering column. It was holding it up. So I just took that out. There was 2 holes pre-drilled here for mounting, and I just drilled one out big enough to hold my Heim joint. And I'm going to throw that underneath the dash and see where that gets me. Just eyeballing it, it looks like it'll be pretty close. And then we're going to take this shaft. This is 3/4 inch solid stainless steel. I got about 5 feet of it here. Should be fine for what we're doing. And here is our bearing for on the firewall. This is just a common flange bearing. You could probably get these at your local farm service store or bearing store. I got this one off of Summit. I was placing an order anyway for some other parts for my diff, so I just figured get it over $100 so I get free shipping. It's the best part, it's free shipping. So I'm going to mount this under the car. I'll probably throw the shaft in there, and we'll see if we can get that going. Okay guys, I got that bracket bolted back in. I'll give you guys a look here. Here you can see the factory cradle that was holding the steering column. I just drilled a hole in it to support this Heim joint. I got the Heim joint in there, and I threw my shaft in here just to get a good visual. I don't know if you can really see it under there, probably not, but just to get a visual where that thing was going to end up. It actually works out quite well. I could almost do a straight shot. I'll just show you here. I just have a piece of tubing here holding this thing straight to the steering box, but it's almost a straight shot. Really won't need much there. I am still going to, I am still going to put a collapsible shaft, intermediate shaft here. I don't feel like getting harpooned in the car if I ever hit the wall or whatever. That's why it's there. It's to keep the steering column from entering inside the cab. So I'll keep messing around with this. I'll keep giving you updates here. I'm going to look at the factory shaft, intermediate shaft, see if I can get that thing and use that somewhere instead of me having to buy a bunch of other parts. I might need to buy a U-joint, and I still need to make a plate like this on my firewall. I'm going to see if I can cut this off and use this as a template to hold my my flange bearing on the firewall, and then at least I have structure on 2 points on the steering shaft. So I'm probably going to start making this plate shortly, and then I'm going to get on to seeing if I can use anything from these the collapsible intermediate shafts from the factory shaft. I might cut the rag joint off and see if this slips over the pipe, and I'll either do a shear bolt or I'll weld that onto the steering shaft, and then this will be put a U-joint on this side, and then that'll go to the steering box, and then I have some collapsible intermediate shaft. So stick with me here, and we'll keep at her. Okay guys, so I got that plate cut off, the mounting plate that was on the firewall for the steering column. Here she is right here. I cut that off. I just kind of did a quick trace on some stainless steel I had kicking around. It's roughly the same thickness. I was hoping to use aluminum, but I don't have any around, and the aluminum I did have was a little thin. So I don't know if that would have worked very well. I want it to be rigid. It is your steering, so I mean, don't want your steering failing in the middle of the track. So this is what I got. Yeah, so I cut this off, cut it off the end there. I couldn't find a nice way to disassemble it. I think a lot of that would have had to got disassembled completely to make that work. So this is the plate that's going to be mounting our bearing. I was taking a quick peek in the car, and I think I might actually share this bolt hole with this flange, just to keep my bar where it roughly should be. That's kind of where the factory one was anyway, was close into this corner. So I think we're going to just try sharing that bolt hole with the flange. I might drill that out on the firewall. That way it gives me a good starting point, and it gets me as close to the corner as I possibly can. And aesthetically, I don't think it looks too bad. I may play with the angle to see what way works best, and also where height-wise it ends up. So that's where I'm at right now. I will cut this plate out, and then we'll see if we can get that mounted in the car. Okay, so I got that piece of steel, that cover plate cut. I got my holes drilled, and what I did is I mounted it in the car. This is kind of what I got going so far. Yeah, so this is the plate. I will clean this up. Just needed to kind of match this guy. It's kind of mirror image right now, but so what I did is I mounted this in the car on the firewall where it should be, and then I traced the inside. That's the hole that's given for the steering column, the original steering column, and where that bearing is going to end up is right about there. So I protrude a little bit into there, so I'll have to cut that open a little bit. But that is the game plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this guy. I'm going to get a hole cut for the bearing to sit in. I'll just use the one bolt to hold it on for right now, because I'll use that to hold it there in place while I can sit in the car and make sure that the position is going to work. Okay, so I got that plate kind of finished here. I'll let you guys see it here. So I got that hole cut. That's for my bearing to sit in. I know it's definitely not the prettiest cut in the world. I had to use what I had, so I just cut a square hole with my angle grinder with a small disc, and then just used the angle grinder to clean it out. So I'm going to mount this in the car. We're going to mount that in the car, put the bearing on, put our shaft back in, and see where we end up with that. That'll kind of tell me where I need to go further into my intermediate shaft and what I would need to do there. So let's get that plate in, let's get that bearing installed, and when you come back with me here, I'll have that shaft sitting in there so you can kind of see what I'm trying to get done here. Alright, so we got that shaft mounted now. We have our plate mounted under the dash to the firewall. That's that plate you just saw me make with the hole in it. I got my flange bearing in there, and she's pretty rigid for what she is. Now we'll come over here, and you can kind of see where that shaft is going to end up. You can see my steering box right there, and this is the shaft here. I'll move that up a little bit. So that's where my shaft ends up. So I'll need to put two U-joints. I'll need to go a U-joint here, and then another U-joint down at the steering box, and then I'll build my intermediate shaft from there. So I'll need to wait for some parts to come in. I need to order some, got to wait for the cash. But yeah, so we'll keep going at this here. A buddy of mine just had some D-shaft from a steering build that he was doing. I might grab some of that to make my intermediate shaft. If I did that, I won't have my collapsible shaft like I wanted, but is what it is. We got to do what we have to do. On another note, don't make fun of my differential holding jig here, but that's the center section with the 355s going in this guy. So we'll keep at her. I also brought my scale into the shop. I'm going to weigh the steering column and see what that actually looks like for weight and what we might be able to save. Once I am done the steering column that I'm building now, I'm going to check and weigh those parts and see what I've lost. That'll be the end of this video. This is video number 2. If you've stuck with me through this one, I appreciate it. Hopefully on the third one, we'll have some parts in and we can finish up that steering column. While I'm waiting for parts, I might throw some other random videos in here just so you can kind of see what I do here at the shop. Yeah, so if you like what you saw, please subscribe. Bear with me on the video editing. I know this is my first time ever actually doing this, so I'm learning. If you see anything you didn't like or something I should change, please let me know. I only get better with the information I'm given. So hopefully I can get better at it, give you better content. Yeah, subscribe. Thanks.